Everything you're about to hear is just my assessment. It's my opinion, and not to be taken as fact.
Robyn Torgrimson's February 4th, 2025 episode of Mega Maniacs podcast was a scorching takedown of Parsley's manipulative, deceptive, and predatory tactics, and it was nothing short of masterful. Her no-holds-barred approach, her sharp wit, and her meticulous dissection of Parsley's con artistry were a triumph for truth and accountability. This episode wasn't just another critique, it was a battle cry against religious exploitation, financial abuse, and the sheer audacity of Parsley's ongoing, fraudulent empire. A relentless and unflinching breakdown. From the very beginning, Robyn made it clear that she wasn't going to pull any punches. She dove straight into Pathway to Power, Parsley's latest propaganda piece, and systematically shredded it apart. Her experience as a former insider gave her a unique perspective, exposing not just the absurdities in Parsley's teachings, but also the outright lies, contradictions, and financial manipulation at play. One of the most powerful aspects of this episode was how Robyn masterfully highlighted the hypocrisy that runs through every word out of Parsley's mouth. He preaches about giving and sacrifice, yet he and his family hoard wealth, live in excess, and exploit their congregation for every dime they can squeeze out of them. Robyn laid out how Parsley dares to shame struggling congregants into giving money they don't have, while his own wife and daughter rake in six-figure salaries for doing nothing. Parsley's favorite scare tactic, weaponizing Malachi 3:10. Robyn's breakdown of how Parsley misuses Malachi 3:10 was one of the most damning portions of the podcast. She exposed how he twists scripture to guilt his followers into believing that if they don't tithe, they are robbing God and inviting curses upon themselves. This tired and manipulative tactic has been a cornerstone of his empire, but Robyn tore it apart by bringing in proper biblical context, pointing out that the Old Testament tithe was for widows, the poor, and Levite priests who had no land to sustain themselves. She didn't stop at scripture. She exposed the financial grift behind Parsley's demands for tithes. She revealed that while World Harvest Church, WHC members are coerced into giving, there is no financial transparency from the leadership. Parsley refuses to disclose how tithes are used, and staff salaries are nowhere near the extravagant lifestyles of the Parsley family. Robyn hammered home the point that there is no proof that Rod and Joni Parsley are actually tithing, as they claim. If anything, money given to the church is funneled right back into their pockets. The devastating toll on WHC staff and students. Robyn's first-hand experience working at WHC was one of the most damning parts of the episode. She made it clear that regular employees and students were underpaid, overworked, and treated as disposable, while Rod and Ashton Parsley flaunted their wealth and demanded more from people who had nothing left to give. She exposed how staff members who dared to ask for a raise were met with scrutiny over their tithing records, a disgusting power play used to shame and control employees. Meanwhile, some employees were living in poverty, and students at Valor Christian College were literally going hungry, while Rod and his inner circle kept enriching themselves. One of the most appalling revelations came when Robyn spoke about World Harvest Church's financial setup, where many staff members were classified as ministers simply to avoid paying Social Security. This fraudulent classification left countless long-term employees without retirement benefits, forcing some into financial ruin after dedicating decades of service to WHC. The green screen deception. Lies about international missions. One of the biggest bombshells Robyn dropped was the revelation that many of Parsley's so-called humanitarian efforts are nothing more than stage productions. She exposed how videos claiming to show aid work in foreign countries were actually filmed on green screens or staged in remote areas of California to look like they were filmed overseas. This was a staggering revelation that blew the lid off one of Rod Parsley's biggest and most lucrative lies, that WHC is a global force for good. This episode drove home the fact that Parsley exploits the suffering of others to manipulate donors into giving. While he parades around claiming to send food, rescue slaves, and fight poverty, there is no verifiable proof that WHC actually delivers on these promises. Financial watchdogs like Charity Navigator and the Better Business Bureau have rated WHC poorly due to a complete lack of financial transparency, meaning that millions in donations disappear into a black hole. Rod Parsley's narcissistic and abusive leadership. Robyn was at her most devastating when she dissected Parsley's egotistical and abusive leadership style. She played clips of his sermon where he berated, guilt-tripped and manipulated his congregation into giving. The gaslighting, the coercion, and the outright spiritual abuse were on full display, and Robyn didn't let a single moment slide. One of the most revolting parts of Parsley's message was his shameless bragging about helping a Valor student by giving him old shoes. Robyn tore this apart, pointing out how it was nothing more than a humiliating power move designed to make himself look generous while keeping his students in a state of dependence. It was nothing short of emotional and psychological abuse, reducing a human being to a prop in Parsley's never-ending self-glorification campaign. She also highlighted Ashton Parsley's similarly disgusting behavior, playing a clip where Ashton mocked and belittled students who accepted handouts from her. Ashton had the audacity to shame students for needing help while using church funds to finance her luxury shopping sprees, a contradiction so grotesque that it left no doubt about her true character. The utter hypocrisy of demanding government transparency. In one of the most infuriating parts of the episode, Robyn exposed Rod Parsley's hypocrisy in demanding financial transparency from the government while refusing to provide the same transparency for his own church. He ranted about how Americans should demand to know how tax dollars are spent, yet he refuses to disclose where church donations go. WHC's finances are shrouded in secrecy, with no public records detailing how tithes are used, earning them an F rating from financial accountability organizations. Robyn pulled no punches here. She made it crystal clear that Parsley is a fraud, a con artist, and a hypocrite of the highest order. He thrives on control, deception, and fear-mongering, all while refusing to be held accountable for his own corrupt practices. A call to action, exposing the grift and demanding justice. Robyn ended the episode with a powerful call to action. She encouraged listeners to continue demanding transparency, calling out the lies, and supporting those who have been harmed by Parsley's ministry. She plugged the petition to investigate WHC, urging people to sign it and hold this corrupt empire accountable. She also praised other podcasters and activists fighting against megachurch corruption, proving that the movement against religious exploitation is growing stronger by the day. Robyn's fearless leadership in exposing this grift is nothing short of heroic. Final verdict: Robyn Torgrimson is a force to be reckoned. With this episode was a complete and utter obliteration of Rod Parsley. Robyn Torgrimson continues to prove herself as one of the most fearless, intelligent, and relentless voices against religious fraud. Her research, her insider knowledge, and her sheer refusal to back down made this episode an absolute masterclass in investigative journalism and moral courage. Rod Parsley should be terrified because the truth is out and Robyn is not stopping.